The night was cold and heavy rain washed over the empty streets. Ethan pulled his jacket tighter as he carried the warm pizza box under his arm. He had been working as a delivery boy for only 3 weeks, and already he had seen strange customers. But tonight felt different. Something in the air made him uneasy, as if the world was holding its breath. He looked at the order slip again. The address was clear, but the name scribbled on it was not in English. It looked like symbols, almost like they were glowing faintly when the streetlight touched the paper. He frowned and shook his head, thinking maybe it was some weird nickname or a prank. Still, a delivery was a delivery, and he had to finish his shift. The house stood at the edge of the town, far from other buildings. It was old but well kept, its windows glowing with a soft blue light instead of the usual yellow. He thought maybe it was some new kind of bulb, but the color made the place look unreal. Ethan hesitated at the gate, his shoes splashing in the puddles. For a moment, he wondered if he should just leave the pizza at the doorstep and walk away. But his job was to hand it directly to the customer, so he forced himself to move forward. When he reached the door, he noticed the silence. The rain hit the roof, the wind whistled through the trees, but inside the house there was nothing. No television, no music, no voices. It felt too quiet, like the walls were holding secrets. He raised his hand and knocked, 3 soft taps. The sound echoed strangely, almost like the wood of the door was hollow or alive. Inside the house, something stirred. Ethan pressed his ear close and thought he heard water, but not the normal kind. It sounded like liquid humming, like a song made of drops and echoes. He stepped back quickly, his heart beating faster. Probably a shower, he whispered to himself, though his voice trembled. He lifted the box higher, pretending to act normal. But deep down, he felt that whoever was inside was not normal at all. He knocked again, louder this time. The air around him felt heavier, charged like the moments before a thunderstorm. The pizza box grew hotter in his hands, or maybe it was just his nerves. He looked at the windows, expecting someone to peek out, but no shadow appeared. The soft blue glow inside flickered, almost like it reacted to his knocking. Ethan swallowed hard, wondering what kind of customer this could be. Minutes passed like hours. His mind kept whispering strange thoughts. What if this house didn't belong to a human? What if he was being watched right now by something behind the door? He shook his head, trying to laugh at himself. Too many sci-fi movies, he muttered, forcing a smile. But still, his feet refused to move away, as if some unseen thread kept him tied to this doorstep. Finally, a faint sound came from inside. Not footsteps, but something sliding softly across the floor. Ethan froze, gripping the pizza box tightly. He felt the weight of his decision. Should he knock once more, or run back into the rain? Before he could decide, a single drop of glowing water slipped under the door and landed near his shoe. His eyes widened. It wasn't normal water. It was alive, glowing faintly, moving like it had a will of its own. Ethan stumbled back, almost dropping the pizza. His heart pounded so loud he thought it might echo into the house. He wanted to scream, but the words stuck in his throat. The glowing drop faded into the wet ground, leaving no trace. Was it his imagination, or had it truly been there? He rubbed his eyes, whispering, "It's just the rain, just the rain." But deep down, he knew it wasn't. The doorknob rattled suddenly. Ethan jumped, his whole body tense. The door opened just a crack, enough for a sliver of strange blue light to spill out. A faint voice, smooth and echoing, floated through the gap. "Wait there," it said, soft but commanding. Ethan felt his knees weaken, his grip on the pizza box slipping. The voice was unlike anything he had heard, like 2 tones speaking in harmony. He could not tell if it was human or something else. The door closed again with a soft click. Ethan stood frozen, raindrops sliding down his hair and jacket. His instincts screamed at him to leave, to run far away. But something stronger held him there, curiosity. He wanted to know who or what had spoken to him, why the water had glowed, why the light inside was so unnatural. He wanted answers, even if his fear told him to turn back. The night deepened, the rain fell harder, and Ethan waited on that doorstep, unaware that this delivery would change his life forever. Inside the strange, glowing house, Lyra stood under the falling streams of liquid light. It was not water, not anything humans would know. The shining drops floated like ribbons around her body, clinging to her pale skin, glowing and fading in soft waves. Her long hair shimmered as the liquid ran down her back, moving like threads of silver fire. To anyone watching, it would look less like a shower and more like standing inside a living star. Lyra breathed slowly, her chest rising as she let the liquid cover her. She was not human, not entirely, though her reflection in the mirror could almost pass as one. Still, when the glowing liquid touched her skin, her true form stirred beneath the disguise. Her eyes flickered with silver light. Her veins lit up faintly like constellations under her skin. She pressed her hand against the mirror, watching her glowing palm fade back into normal human color. Every shower was a battle, a fight to keep her disguise stable. And tonight, the knock at the door had almost broken her calm. Her mind raced. Who was outside? A neighbor, a stranger, or maybe she swallowed the ones who were hunting her. She tilted her head, listening through the hum of liquid around her. The sound of knocking echoed again, louder this time, sending a vibration through her bones. It was not just noise, it felt like a call pulling at something deep inside her. She turned off the flow of liquid, but a few glowing drops still clung to her skin, refusing to vanish. Not now, she whispered to herself, her voice trembling. Not when I am exposed. Her heart beat faster, not like a human heart, but with two rhythms overlapping. She wrapped a towel around her body, though the glow still bled through the fabric in faint sparks. She reached for the device hidden on the shelf, a small crystal orb that pulsed in warning. It had only one meaning: someone outside was not ordinary. Her silver eyes widened. Could it be that fate had finally brought danger to her door? She crept across the hall, her bare feet leaving faint trails of light on the wooden floor. Every step she took, the blue glow in the walls flickered as if the house itself was alive. Lyra stopped before the door, her hand hovering above the knob. Her body was trembling, not only with fear, but with an emotion she hated to admit: curiosity. What kind of human would knock at this hour, under heavy rain, and not leave? Her kind had survived for centuries by hiding, but now someone was forcing her into a choice. The pizza box scent drifted faintly through the door crack. It was warm, spicy, unfamiliar yet tempting. Her stomach twisted. She had eaten human food before, but it never satisfied her. Her body craved energy, light, essence, things no human could imagine. But something about the human outside felt different. She had felt it when she peeked through the energy of the house. His aura flickered strangely, weak but steady, fragile yet stubborn. He was afraid, but he had not left. That stubbornness drew her in. She touched her wet hair, trying to calm it, but the strands moved as if alive, floating lightly around her shoulders. She bit her lip in frustration, willing them to settle like normal hair. Her disguise was weak after the shower, too many signs of her real self bleeding through. If she opened the door now, he would see too much. But if she didn't open, his suspicion might grow. And if he told others, her life here was over. The orb pulsed again, stronger this time. She gasped softly, the light in her veins flickering brighter. This was no ordinary delivery boy. No, fate had placed him here, at her doorstep, in the middle of her weakest moment. Her hands clenched around the towel. Her instinct screamed at her to hide, to send him away. But her heart whispered something else. Open the door, Lyra. See who he is. She took a deep breath, her silver glow fading slightly as she forced the disguise back into place. Her eyes dimmed, her skin softened to a pale but human tone. Her hair finally lay flat, though faint glimmers still sparked at the edges. It was not perfect, but it would have to do. She placed her hand on the knob and whispered to herself, "Don't let him see, don't let him know." Outside, the boy was still waiting. She could sense his heartbeat through the wood, fast but steady. The moment she opened the door, their lives would tangle together. She knew it, felt it deep in her alien blood. And yet, she turned the knob anyway, because curiosity was stronger than fear. Because sometimes destiny knocked, and you had no choice but to answer. The door creaked open, a sliver of blue light spilling onto the wet ground outside. Lyra stood in the doorway, her towel clutched tight, droplets of glowing liquid still sliding down her skin. Her eyes locked onto his, glowing faintly before dimming back to human color. The boy's breath caught, his pizza box trembling in his hands. For the first time, human and alien looked into each other's eyes. And in that silent second, both of them knew this was no ordinary night. The door stood half open, rain dripping from the edges. Ethan's eyes widened as he saw her standing there, wrapped in a towel, her hair still wet, droplets sliding down her skin. At first glance, she looked human, almost too human, like the perfect picture of beauty one might only see in dreams. But the longer he looked, the more his mind whispered that something was not right. Her skin seemed to glow faintly in the rain, her eyes holding a silver spark that no human should have. She was breathtaking, but also terrifying. Lyra held the towel tighter against her body, her lips parting slightly as she tried to speak. Her voice slipped out soft, but layered like two tones echoing together. "Did you bring it?" she asked, her words smooth yet strange. Ethan blinked, almost forgetting the pizza box in his trembling hands. "Oh, yes, he stammered, lifting it up quickly. "Your order." He tried to smile, but his nerves betrayed him, his hand shaking as the warm box slid forward. For a moment, silence stretched between them. The sound of rain filled the gap, the heavy drops splashing on the steps. Ethan couldn't stop staring at her eyes. They glowed softly, then dimmed, as if struggling to stay normal. He thought it might just be the strange blue light from inside the house, but deep down he knew it wasn't. Those eyes were alive in a way human eyes never were. Lyra noticed his gaze and looked away quickly, turning her head so her hair covered part of her face. But that only made Ethan notice her more. The wet strands of hair shimmered faintly, moving with a mind of their own before settling. He took a step back, his instincts warning him to leave, yet his feet refused to move, trapped by the strange pull she carried. It was fear, yes, but also fascination, a curiosity that chained him in place. "Inside," Lyra whispered suddenly, her voice carrying both command and plea. Ethan's heart jumped. I'm not supposed to. I just deliver," he muttered. Her eyes lifted to his, glowing brighter for a second. "Please," she said softly, "just for a moment." The sound of her words made his chest tighten, like invisible threads tugging at his heart. It wasn't hypnotic, not exactly, but it was enough to break his hesitation. He stepped forward just enough for the edge of the blue glow to touch his skin. The air inside the house was heavy, charged like static before lightning. Ethan shivered, his hair standing on end. The walls themselves seemed to breathe with a faint pulse of light. He swallowed hard, clutching the pizza box like a shield. "Nice place," he muttered nervously, his voice shaking. Lyra didn't answer. She only studied him, her glowing eyes searching his face as though reading his soul. Ethan tried to focus on anything else. The floor was polished wood, but faint trails of glowing liquid shimmered like footprints that faded and reappeared. The scent in the air was sharp yet sweet, not perfume, not food, but something alive. His eyes darted back to her, and once again he felt that mix of awe and terror. She was beautiful beyond words, but the strangeness of her beauty left him restless, like standing too close to fire, unable to decide if he should warm himself or run from the flames. Lyra took the box from his hands, her fingers brushing against his skin. Ethan flinched, not from cold, but from the strange heat that surged through him. It was as if her touch carried electricity running through his veins in a rush. He gasped softly, dropping his hand, his heart racing. Her silver eyes narrowed slightly, studying his reaction. "You felt it," she whispered, almost to herself. Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it, unsure what to say. He wanted to ask what she was, who she was, why her eyes glowed. But his throat felt dry, his words stuck inside his chest. Instead, he blurted the only thing his brain could manage. "Do you want change?" Lyra tilted her head, confusion crossing her face. Then, to his shock, she laughed softly, the sound echoing like music from another world. It was not mocking, but warm, almost kind. For a brief second, Ethan forgot his fear, lost in the strange beauty of her laughter. But the moment passed quickly. The glow on her skin flared faintly as a drop of liquid slid down her neck and onto her shoulder. Ethan's eyes caught it, and his breath froze. It wasn't water. It shimmered like molten light, glowing softly before fading into her skin. His hands tightened on the empty air where the box had been. He knew then, without doubt, that she was not human. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to escape, to leave this house and never look back. And yet, his feet stayed where they were, rooted in place by something stronger than fear. Lyra's glowing eyes met his once more, her voice soft but carrying weight. "You saw it," she whispered, not as a question, but as truth. Ethan swallowed hard, his mouth dry. I don't know what I saw," he stammered, though his voice betrayed him. Her lips curved in a faint, sad smile. "Then you already know," she replied, her voice carrying both sorrow and mystery. The room fell silent again, the rain outside pounding like a drum. Ethan realized in that moment that nothing about his life would be the same. This delivery had brought him to a doorway not only of a strange house, but of another world. And as he stood frozen before her glowing gaze, he understood one thing clearly. The night had only just begun. The pizza box sat forgotten on the small wooden table, steam rising into the strange blue glow of the house. Ethan stood frozen in the doorway, his eyes never leaving Lyra. Her towel clung to her body, her wet hair spilling like silver threads across her shoulders. She looked human, but only in the way a mask looks like a face. He could see the cracks in that disguise now, glowing lines beneath her skin, sparks that faded in and out like living stars. Lyra turned away from him, her back facing the mirror near the hallway. She tried to keep calm, but her reflection betrayed her. The mirror showed faint patterns glowing under her skin, shapes like constellations mapped across her body. Her eyes in the reflection shimmered silver before dimming again. She closed her eyes tightly, whispering in a low voice, "Hold together, just hold together." Ethan stepped forward without thinking, his curiosity stronger than his fear. What are you?" he muttered, his voice shaky. Lyra spun around, her glowing eyes locking onto him. "I am nothing you need to fear," she whispered, but the way she said it only made his heart beat faster. Her voice carried layers again, two tones woven together, almost like two people speaking through one mouth. The sound made the air tremble between them. She took a deep breath, clutching the towel tighter. "I did not want this," she said softly. "You were not meant to see." Ethan blinked, confused. "See what?" Lyra stepped closer, her glowing drops of liquid falling from her wet hair onto the floor. One of them rolled toward Ethan's shoe and vanished into the wood with a hiss, leaving a faint spark behind. He stared at it, his throat dry. "That," she whispered, her silver eyes glowing brighter. Ethan's hand shook as he lifted it to wipe sweat from his forehead. In that instant, a glowing droplet from her arm slid free and landed on the back of his hand. He hissed in shock, the liquid burning for a split second before sinking into his skin. Ethan dropped to his knees, clutching his hand, gasping. The burn was sharp, but then, suddenly, it shifted into warmth. A scar he had carried for years, a jagged line across his knuckles, faded away in seconds, leaving his skin smooth. His breath caught, his eyes wide with disbelief. He looked up at her, trembling. What did you do to me?" he whispered, his voice breaking. Lyra stared at him, her lips trembling as if she wanted to deny it, but she couldn't. "I didn't mean to," she said quickly, stepping back, her bare feet leaving glowing trails on the floor. "You should not have seen, you should not have touched." Ethan lifted his healed hand in front of his eyes, turning it back and forth. The skin was perfect, untouched. "That's impossible," he whispered, his voice filled with awe and fear. Lyra's breath grew uneven, panic rising inside her. "You don't understand," she said, her voice trembling. "If you speak of this, if anyone knows, they will find me." Her glowing eyes locked onto his, desperate and pleading. Ethan staggered to his feet, his mind racing. "Find you," he repeated. "Who? Who are they?" Lyra's lips tightened. She shook her head. "You don't want to know." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And if they know about you now, they will not let you go either." Ethan's stomach twisted, his mind screaming at him to run, to escape this nightmare. But his legs refused to move, his heart trapped by her glowing gaze. "What are you?" he asked again, his voice louder this time. Lyra stepped closer, the glow in her veins brightening with each word. "I am a fugitive," she said softly, "a wanderer from a place you cannot imagine." Her towel slipped slightly from her shoulder, revealing more glowing lines spreading across her collarbone, pulsing like living circuits. Ethan stared, his mouth dry, unable to look away. Lyra caught the towel quickly, her cheeks flushing with something almost human, embarrassment. She turned her face from him, her wet hair hiding half her glowing eyes. "I should not have opened the door," she whispered. "I should have let you leave." But even as she said it, her voice carried another layer. Loneliness, the ache of someone who had been hiding too long. Ethan's chest rose and fell quickly, his hand still tingling where the scar had been. He wanted to step back, to leave, but instead he found himself moving closer. "You healed me," he whispered. You saved me, even if it was by accident." Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes softening. "You don't understand," she said, shaking her head. "It is not a gift. It is a curse." The rain outside grew louder, thunder rumbling in the distance. The house itself seemed to tremble with her emotions, the walls glowing brighter as her fear grew. Ethan felt it, the heavy weight of a secret far bigger than him. But even in his fear, he knew one thing. This girl, this alien, was not his enemy. And maybe, just maybe, he had been meant to find her. Lyra's eyes shone brighter, almost glowing like stars now. "Promise me," she whispered, stepping so close he could feel the strange warmth of her skin. "Promise me you will tell no one of this." Ethan's throat tightened, his breath uneven. He looked at his healed hand, then at her desperate eyes. And though fear burned inside him, another feeling stirred stronger, trust. He nodded slowly, whispering, "I promise." For the first time that night, Lyra's shoulders relaxed. Her silver glow dimmed slightly, as if relief calmed her. But even then, a shadow passed over her face. Because promises were fragile, and fate was already moving against them. And both of them knew this was only the beginning. The promise still hung in the air, fragile like glass. Ethan's heart was racing, his breath uneven, his healed hand trembling at his side. He had given his word, and yet, deep inside, a storm of fear and curiosity battled within him. He had seen enough to know Lyra was not human, but not enough to understand what she truly was. Lyra turned away, pressing her palm to the glowing wall. The house responded, its light dimming slightly like it was alive and listening to her. Her shoulders trembled, her wet hair clinging to her back. For a moment, she looked like a lost girl, vulnerable, fragile. But then the glow beneath her skin flared, and Ethan realized that what stood before him was not fragile at all. Another droplet of glowing liquid fell from her arm and splashed against the wooden floor. This time, instead of fading, the light spread, crawling across the boards like veins of fire. Ethan gasped, stepping back quickly. The floor pulsed once, then dimmed again, as if it had obeyed her command. He stared at her in shock, his words stumbling. What are you doing? What are you? Lyra turned slowly, her silver eyes shining brighter than ever before. You should not have come here, she whispered, her voice carrying sorrow and warning. You were not meant to see me like this. Ethan shook his head, his throat dry. I didn't mean to. I was just delivering pizza, he muttered, the words sounding foolish even to his own ears. Lyra's lips curved into a faint, sad smile. And now you cannot walk away unchanged. The towel slipped again as she shifted, and this time she didn't catch it in time. Her shoulder and arm were exposed fully, glowing with lines that moved under her skin. They weren't scars or tattoos. They were alive, pulsing like rivers of light. Her hair lifted slightly, strands floating as if weightless, shimmering like threads of silver fire. Ethan stumbled back, his chest tightening. His mind screamed, not human, but his eyes couldn't look away. The glow spread across her chest and neck, blooming like constellations. Her disguise was breaking, her human mask unable to hold after the shower. Her voice carried both fear and frustration. This is the truth you wanted, she whispered. Look well, because now you cannot forget it. Ethan's legs trembled, his back pressing against the wall. He wanted to run, but his body refused to obey. Every part of him screamed danger, yet another part was drawn closer, as if her strange beauty held him captive. She was terrifying, yes, but she was also radiant, like staring into the night sky and realizing the stars were alive and watching you. Lyra stepped toward him, the glow around her brightening. Her eyes locked onto his, glowing silver light spilling from them. Do you fear me? She asked softly, her layered voice echoing in the air. Ethan's lips parted, but no words came out. His chest heaved with quick breaths, his mind scrambling for an answer. Finally, the truth slipped out in a broken whisper. Yes. Lyra's expression darkened, her glowing hair shifting like it was alive. The air around them vibrated, the walls pulsing with light in rhythm with her heart. For a moment, Ethan thought she would lash out, that she might destroy him with a single touch. But then, her glow dimmed, her shoulders lowering, her voice breaking. I don't want your fear, she whispered, her silver eyes softening with sadness. I only wanted to survive. Ethan's breath slowed slightly, his fear mixing with something else. Pity, maybe even compassion. She looked less like a monster now, and more like someone carrying a heavy burden. His eyes fell on the glowing lines across her arm, patterns like stars in the night sky. They were strange, yes, but also beautiful. Slowly, he lifted his healed hand, holding it out toward her without thinking. His voice was unsteady, but it carried something new, courage. Then let me see, he whispered, all of it. Lyra's eyes widened in surprise, her glow flickering as if she didn't trust what she had heard. You would stay, she asked, her layered voice trembling. Ethan swallowed hard, his body still tense with fear, but he nodded. I promised, didn't I? He said softly, his words carrying more weight than he realized. For a long moment, they stood in silence, the rain outside pounding harder, thunder rumbling in the distance. Lyra finally lowered her towel completely, her true form shimmering beneath it. Glowing constellations pulsed across her body, veins of silver light flowing under her skin like rivers. Her hair lifted and spread around her shoulders like a halo of starlight. Her eyes, fully unmasked now, glowed with endless galaxies within them. Ethan's breath caught in his throat, his fear reaching its peak. Yet so did his awe. She was not human, not anything close. But in her trembling hands, in her soft gaze, he saw something familiar. Loneliness, fear, hope. Things even humans carried. He realized then that she was not showing him her power, but her truth. And that truth was not meant to frighten him, but to beg for acceptance. Ethan's knees weakened, but he forced himself to stay standing. He whispered the only words he could manage, his voice quiet but certain. "You're beautiful." Lyra's glowing eyes widened, her lips parting in shock. Of all the reactions she had expected, fear, hatred, rejection, that was not one of them. Her glow dimmed slightly, softening, her shoulders trembling as her voice slipped out. "You shouldn't say that," she whispered, almost breaking. But Ethan held her gaze, his trembling smile small but real. "I mean it," he said quietly. "You're beautiful." And for the first time, Lyra believed it. Not because of her glow, not because of her alien form, but because a human, standing in fear and awe, had chosen not to run. And that choice was the true shock of the night. The storm outside raged louder, thunder rolling across the night sky. Inside the glowing house, silence wrapped around Ethan and Lyra like a heavy blanket. He could still see her true form shimmering before him. Constellations of light moving under her skin, silver rivers glowing across her arms and shoulders, her hair floating in soft waves as if the air itself obeyed her. She stood vulnerable, her eyes glowing like twin galaxies, but her expression was uncertain, almost fragile. Ethan's breath came in uneven bursts, his heart pounding against his ribs, torn between the urge to run and the strange pull that kept him rooted in place. Lyra lowered her gaze, clutching the edge of the towel again as if ashamed of the truth she had revealed. "You should leave," she whispered, her layered voice trembling. "If you stay, you'll be part of this, and they will come for you too." Ethan swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Who are they?" he asked, his voice low but steady. Lyra's silver eyes flickered, fear glimmering inside them. "The hunters," she murmured, "collectors who take what they desire and destroy what they cannot control." The words sank deep into Ethan's chest, chilling him. He imagined shadows lurking just beyond the storm, waiting to strike. And yet, even with fear twisting inside him, he couldn't ignore the way her voice shook when she spoke of them. She wasn't only afraid for herself, she was afraid for him too. That truth made his chest tighten. Lyra stepped back, her glowing footprints fading as the floor absorbed them. "You are innocent," she said softly, "a human who should not have been caught in this." Her voice cracked as she added, "I don't want you hurt because of me." Ethan clenched his fists, his mind spinning. He could leave now, run back into the rain, pretend this night never happened. No one would believe him if he told the truth anyway. He could return to his ordinary life, safe, untouched. But when he looked at her trembling shoulders, at the sadness glowing in her eyes, something inside him resisted. "I made a promise," he whispered, his voice shaking but firm. "I won't tell anyone." Lyra's head lifted slowly, surprise flickering in her eyes. "You would risk your life for silence?" she asked softly, disbelief woven into her words. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "I don't know why," he admitted, "but I can't just walk away." Her lips parted, her glowing eyes shimmering like liquid silver. "You don't understand what it means to stay," she whispered, her voice carrying weight. "If they come, you will be hunted with me. Your world will never be safe again." Ethan exhaled sharply, his fear rising like a tide. He thought of his small apartment, his boring job, his ordinary days. A safe life, quiet, predictable. But in this moment, staring at her glowing form, it felt small, almost empty. "You're alone," he said suddenly, his voice stronger now. Her eyes widened, caught off guard. "You've been hiding here all by yourself, haven't you?" She looked away, her silence the only answer he needed. Ethan's chest ached because he recognized that loneliness. It was the same emptiness he had felt too many nights after his father died, after his friends drifted away. It was the same silence that made him take late shifts, delivering pizzas just to avoid going home. Maybe that was why he couldn't leave her. Maybe that was why his fear wasn't enough to make him run. because for the first time in a long time, he didn't feel invisible. For the first time, someone looked at him like he mattered. Lyra's voice broke his thoughts, soft and fragile. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you choose me?" Ethan's eyes locked onto hers, glowing silver against the stormy blue light. "Because you didn't choose this either," he said quietly. "You're just trying to survive." Her lips trembled, her shoulders shaking. For a moment, she looked ready to argue, but then her glow softened, dimming to a gentle silver instead of burning bright. "You are strange for a human," she whispered, almost like it was a confession. Ethan let out a shaky laugh, though fear still churned inside him. "Yeah, I get that a lot." The storm outside struck again, lightning flashing through the windows. In the distance, a faint hum filled the air, so soft Ethan almost missed it. Lyra's head snapped up, her eyes widening. "No," she whispered sharply, panic surging through her voice. "They are closer than I thought." Ethan stiffened, his body tense. "What do you mean, who's close?" Lyra grabbed his arm suddenly, her glowing touch searing warmth into his skin. Her silver eyes bore into his, desperate, urgent. "You must choose now," she said quickly, her voice layered and echoing. "Leave this place and forget me, or stay and share my fate." Ethan's heart pounded like a drum, fear rising into his throat. He imagined running, imagined escaping into the rain and never looking back. But he also imagined her alone, trembling in this glowing house, hunted by unseen enemies. He looked at her hand gripping his arm, the glow of her veins wrapping around her skin like starlight. Her eyes begged him for an answer. For one long moment, he stood frozen, the storm outside roaring as if the world itself waited for his choice. Then, slowly, Ethan tightened his jaw, his voice breaking but firm. "I'm not leaving you," he whispered. Lyra's glowing eyes widened, her breath catching in shock. Her grip on his arm loosened, her expression torn between disbelief and relief. "You don't know what you've done," she whispered, her voice shaking. Ethan nodded, his fear mixing with determination. "Maybe not," he said softly, "but I'm not letting you face it alone." The hum outside grew louder, like engines cutting through the storm. Lyra's glow brightened, her silver eyes burning with both fear and hope. And Ethan knew, without doubt, that his life was no longer his own. He had made his choice, and there was no turning back. The storm roared outside, rain striking the windows like 1,000 tiny fists. The hum in the distance grew louder, rising above the thunder, a low vibration that shook the walls. Ethan stood frozen, his chest heaving, his decision heavy but unshakable. He had chosen to stay, chosen her, and there was no turning back. Lyra's glowing hand still touched his arm, her silver eyes wide with disbelief. "You are a fool," she whispered, her voice trembling with both sorrow and awe. "A fool who has tied his fate to mine." Ethan managed a weak laugh, his fear wrapped tightly around him but unable to choke his words. "Maybe," he said softly, "but at least I won't be a coward." Her lips parted, as if to argue, but no words came. Instead, her eyes softened, her glow dimming into something gentler. For the first time since he arrived, she no longer looked like a creature hiding behind light and power. She looked almost human, vulnerable in a way he had not expected. The hum outside shifted, sharper now, like blades slicing the air. Lyra's head turned toward the window, her expression tightening. "They're close," she whispered, her voice a warning. "The hunters have found me." Ethan's stomach twisted, dread sinking deep into his bones. He wanted to run, to escape, to be anywhere but here. But when he looked at her trembling shoulders, at the fear shining in her silver eyes, something inside him locked into place. He had chosen, and he would not abandon her now. Lyra stepped back, her glow rising again, brighter, sharper. Her hair lifted, strands glowing like threads of lightning. The constellations beneath her skin flared with energy, lighting up the room like a living galaxy. She was preparing Not to fight, perhaps, but to defend. Ethan stared in awe, fear mixing with something else. Admiration. "You don't have to stay in this," she said suddenly, her voice layered, carrying power that shook the walls. "You can still leave, and I will erase what you saw, erase your memory. You'll be free." Her words struck him like lightning. To forget, to go back, to be safe again, it was the easy choice. But Ethan clenched his fists, shaking his head. "No," he whispered firmly, "I don't want to forget." Lyra's silver eyes widened, her glow faltering for a moment. "You don't understand," she whispered, her voice breaking. "If you stay, you may never be human in the same way again." Ethan took a step closer, his fear still gnawing at him, but his resolve stronger. "Then maybe I'm ready for that," he said, his words heavy with meaning. "Because for the first time in my life, I feel like I matter." Her lips trembled, her glowing hands lowering slightly. Something inside her shifted, breaking the wall she had built around her heart. For centuries, she had hidden, trusting no one, letting no one see her true form. And yet this fragile human, trembling and afraid, had chosen to stand by her side. Her voice softened, fragile now. "Ethan," she whispered, his name echoing strangely in her layered tones. "You don't know what you're stepping into." Ethan met her gaze, steady despite the storm in his chest. "Then show me," he said. "Don't hide anymore." The house pulsed around them, responding to her emotions. The walls glowed brighter, the floor thrummed with life. Lyra stepped closer, lifting her glowing hand and placing it over his heart. The warmth surged through him, burning and soothing all at once. Ethan gasped, his body shivering, his vision filling with flashes of stars, galaxies, and endless darkness. It was like looking through her eyes, seeing the universe not as humans did, but as her kind did, alive, infinite, terrifying, beautiful. When the glow dimmed, Ethan staggered, catching himself on the table. His chest still burned where her hand had touched. He looked at her with wide eyes, his voice breaking. "What was that?" Lyra's silver eyes shimmered with both fear and relief. "A bond," she whispered softly, "a tie between you and me." Her voice trembled as she added, "Now, if they come for me, they will come for you too." Ethan's heart thundered in his chest, fear rising like a wave. But he also felt something else, a strange warmth deep inside him. The bond was not only danger, it was connection. He was no longer alone, and neither was she. The hum outside grew into a roar, flashing lights cutting through the rain. Lyra's eyes darkened, her glow hardening in a sharp light. "They are here," she whispered. Ethan clenched his fists, his fear burning away under the weight of his choice. He stepped beside her, his voice low but steady. "Then we face them together." Lyra turned her glowing eyes toward him, her expression unreadable. Then, slowly, she nodded, her lips curving in the faintest of smiles. "For a human," she whispered, "you are far braver than most of my kind." The storm shook the house, the hunters closing in. But inside, two figures stood side by side, bound by light, fear, and choice. And though the night promised danger, both knew one truth. Whatever came next, they would face it together.